California fuels grand ambitions and sky-high hopes, endless coastline, star-studded streets, and the timeless belief that anyone can strike it big all shape its image. Yet beneath the Golden State's glow lies a collection of popular myths that quickly fall apart in real life. Ready to separate fact from fiction? California's shoreline is vast, stunning, and incredibly diverse. Large portions are defined by steep cliffs, rugged coastlines, and cold ocean temperatures. At many well-known beaches, a wetsuit is often necessary if you plan to swim. While certain areas are perfect for beach sports and lounging in the sun, others are best enjoyed through a camera lens. While many picture Los Angeles as a nonstop parade of glitz and glamour, the reality of day-to-day life is much more grounded. Famous figures generally stay within secluded neighborhoods, move about in private vehicles, and frequent low-profile spots to avoid attention. Consequently, while a chance encounter is possible, you are much more likely to cross paths with fellow travelers searching for stars than with the A-listers themselves. Hollywood is teeming with hopeful individuals, yet the majority are balancing several jobs, serving food, taking on freelance tasks, and constantly attending casting calls. Gaining recognition is seldom a quick process. Instead, it is an exhausting and high-stakes endurance test that remains hidden from the public eye unless you are part of the local scene. Silicon Valley is undeniably full of ambitious entrepreneurs and eager investors. Yet behind the hype, it's crowded with failed startups, grueling workdays, and relentless competition. Securing funding is challenging, developing a product is even harder, and lasting long enough to achieve success takes near heroic effort. The idea of instant unicorns is just as misleading as the dream of becoming a movie star overnight. California's climate is incredibly diverse, changing dramatically from region to region. Along the coast, the Bay Area often wakes to thick fog that can linger all day, shrouding the cities in a cool, misty haze. Northern California experiences heavy winter rainstorms that sweep through the forests and valleys, bringing a chill to the air. In contrast, the inland valleys bake under the sun, with summer temperatures often soaring into the triple digits. The deserts in the south can be even hotter, creating an arid, sun-scorched landscape. Mountain regions experience their own extremes, from snow-covered peaks in winter to warm, dry summers. Alongside these natural variations, wildfire season looms each year, threatening forests, homes, and communities. Coastal breezes can bring relief, but they also push smoke and heat inland, adding to the challenges. Microclimates are everywhere, meaning two towns just a few miles apart can feel like different worlds. The traffic nightmares in Los Angeles are not just exaggerated tales, they really exist. Endless highways and bumper-to-bumper congestion can test even the most patient drivers. Rush hours often feel like they stretch on forever, with brake lights as far as the eye can see. But California is enormous, and not every city lives under this constant traffic stress. Many mid-sized cities offer smooth, stress-free commutes that barely take a fraction of the time. Rural towns and suburban areas often enjoy quiet roads and scenic drives instead of gridlock. Even within Los Angeles, traffic isn't always a nightmare. It rises and falls depending on the time of day. Early mornings, late nights, and weekends can bring surprisingly clear highways. The state's sheer size and diversity mean that experiences behind the wheel vary greatly. So while LA's traffic is legendary, there are plenty of places where driving remains a pleasant, manageable experience. Disneyland is undeniably magical, with its iconic castle, whimsical rides, and enchanting atmosphere that captivates visitors of all ages. Yet behind the glittering facade, it comes with a high price tag that makes frequent visits challenging for most families. Crowds are a constant presence, especially during weekends and holidays, turning even a simple stroll through Main Street into a slow, bustling journey. Planning a visit takes effort. Timing rides, meals, and shows requires careful scheduling to make the most of a day in the park. For most locals, trips to Disneyland are occasional treats rather than a regular bi-weekly routine. While some devoted fans do hold annual passes, allowing them easier and more frequent access, they remain the exception rather than the rule. Even regular visitors must navigate long lines, crowded spaces, and the constant hum of excitement and activity around them. Despite the challenges, Disneyland's magic endures, drawing people in with its charm, memories, and the promise of a day filled with wonder. A cinematic view of California's trees, showing a famous Los Angeles boulevard lined with tall, iconic palm trees under sunny skies. Beyond the tourist areas, the landscape shifts to sprawling oaks, towering pines, and large sycamores in parks and neighborhoods. Some palms appear aged, while native trees dominate the scenery, highlighting the contrast between the postcard-perfect tropical image and California's diverse, natural tree canopy. You might occasionally spot a film crew out on the street, but such sightings are rare and far from the norm. The bulk of movie and TV production takes place on studio lots or in carefully selected neighborhoods designed for filming. Filming on public streets requires expensive permits, and navigating traffic control adds a layer of complexity few realize. Spontaneous street corner movie shoots aren't nearly as common as popular culture might suggest. Most productions plan every shot meticulously to avoid disrupting daily life or breaking local regulations. Even in neighborhoods known for filming, crews work discreetly, keeping equipment and actors contained to controlled areas. The Hollywood streets you see in movies are often recreated sets or heavily managed locations, rather than real-time open city streets. So while the idea of stumbling into a movie scene is fun, the reality is that most of Hollywood's magic happens behind the scenes, away from the public eye. When you think of California, you probably picture surfers catching waves at sunrise, right? But let's be real. Most locals aren't doing that every day. A lot of people have never even touched a surfboard in the Pacific. Yeah, it's way colder than it looks. The idea that everyone jumps out of bed, grabs a board, and runs straight to the beach? Total Hollywood fantasy. Sure, some hardcore surfers live that dream, and on sunny days it can look effortless. But for most Californians, the beach is more about chilling, walking, or just enjoying the view. Surfing is part of the culture, but it's just one piece of the laid-back California lifestyle puzzle. So next time you see that perfect wave montage, remember, real life is a lot more casual and way less cinematic. When people think of California, they imagine beaches, palm trees, and surfing. But the truth is, most Californians live far from the ocean. Places like the Central Valley, Sacramento, and the Inland Empire are hours away from the coast. For folks in these areas, the beach isn't part of everyday life. It's more of a special trip than a routine hangout. Many only see the ocean during a vacation or a carefully planned weekend getaway. Driving to the coast can take hours, so spontaneous sunsets over the waves? Rare. Life inland is all about cities, farms, schools, and work, with mountains, valleys, and deserts shaping daily routines. Even though California is famous for its coastline, the majority of residents experience a very different inland lifestyle. So while the postcards show surfers and sun-drenched sand, for millions of Californians, the ocean is distant, magical, and only occasionally visited. When you think of California food, you probably picture green juices, vegan cafes, and farm-to-table everything. And yeah, that's definitely part of the picture. Fresh, local, and Instagram-ready. But that's only half the story. California is also full of drive-thrus, giant burritos, loaded tacos, and some of the most indulgent comfort food you can imagine. Think massive burgers, fried chicken, hearty breakfasts, and desserts that are basically a meal on their own. Pizza, barbecue, ice cream. Name a craving, and California has it. The everyone eats quinoa and sunshine stereotype? Totally busted once you leave the trendy spots. The state's food scene is huge, diverse, and unapologetically both healthy and indulgent. No matter what you're in the mood for, California has something to satisfy it. TV shows make it look cool, people riding bikes along the coast or hopping on sleek trains. But the reality is very different. Most Californians get around by car. It's just how life works here. Public transit exists, but it's limited to a few big cities and can't cover the huge distances between suburbs, work, and schools. Biking sounds fun, but for most people, it's not practical, especially if you have to cross valleys, highways, or sprawling neighborhoods. Even in cities with decent transit, driving is usually faster and more convenient. So while the screen makes it look effortless, The everyday commute often means traffic, highways, and a lot of time behind the wheel. Cars rule California, and the glamorous train or bike rides you see on TV, mostly reserved for tourists or a lucky few. The reality is long, winding commutes, and a whole lot of car culture. Housing in cities like San Francisco is well known for being extremely expensive, often grabbing headlines for sky-high rents and home prices. But that reality doesn't define the entire state. California is vast and incredibly diverse, with many smaller cities and inland communities offering far more affordable living options. In these areas, housing costs can be much closer to the national average, especially compared to coastal tech hubs. Rural towns and less crowded regions often provide more space, lower rents, and a slower pace of life. Even some mid-sized cities strike a balance between affordability and access to jobs and services. While the most famous cities come with premium price tags, they represent only a slice of California's housing market. For many residents, living in California doesn't mean extreme costs. It means choosing a location that fits their budget and lifestyle.